Morning, guys. Welcome to Mr. Smith's Kitchen. I'm Brian, Mr. Smith. This is my kitchen. So, if you're new to the channel and you found me, welcome. I'm glad that you took time to stop by and hang out with me. If you're returning to the channel, once again, glad you took time to hang out with me. I take nothing for granted. All of you are important, and I do so adore the community that we're growing. Some good news, I just hit over 100 subscribers. I really never once thought there were that many people that might even be interested in me. But I'm glad there are. That means I'm doing something right, and we're building a good, strong community, and that's important. Also, while I'm thinking about it, don't forget to hit subscribe if you're new, or if you haven't hit it yet. You can hit the notification bell if you want. That way, you know, when my videos come out, I'm always privileged to have, you know, be able to come into your life, and you allow me to come into your life. I think that's awesome. You can also hit thumbs up, thumbs down. You can leave a comment about just anything. All I ask is we keep it respectful. We try to keep a loving, caring community here on this channel, and you know, and nurture one another. We don't want to tear each other down, you know, and chances are good that if you have a negative comment, now I don't mean opinionated, I mean negative. It's probably going to disappear pretty quick. So, and I try to respond to everything almost as soon as you comment. I like good conversation. You can hit the thumbs up, thumbs down. I don't necessarily push that, but it's always nice to see if you like it or don't like it. But like I said, we have all age groups in our community, so respectful comments. All right, so that being said, today's Tuesday. I thought we'd hang out. There's not really anything new in the social world. You know, same old, same old. You know, there's flooding in the South. There's drought in the Midwest. There's fires in the far West. And it's just kind of Mother Nature's kind of making it a hot mess right at the moment. You know, I know they don't talk about it much on the news anymore, but there's still some social unrest. You know, I'm always working towards social equality. You know, but I'm also a firm believer in working hard to get where you need to be. So let's keep all that in top of mind. You know, unfortunately, in our world, if it doesn't get talked about on the news in 30-second snippets, we forget about it. But we always want to promote being a good neighbor and treating each other like we would want people to treat us. You know, no matter where we come from, what we do, you know, or who we are. That being said, today I thought we would kind of change it up a little bit. And, well, we're not really changing it up. We're still having a good conversation because it's Tuesday. Although I like to think we always have good conversation. Today I thought we'd take a quick look at all the stuff that me and Chris have jarred. Chris is my wife, if you don't know. Have processed and jarred over the last few months, or last couple months. And then look at some stuff that, you know, you will possibly need for your kitchen. From I'm just starting out in my new apartment for the first time and I need some things, all the way up to some kind of items you may not need right away but come in really handy down the road. I don't want to say wish list items, because the more you cook and the more you bake, the more you'll need them. All right, so let's go downstairs and take a look at our pantry, and then when we come back, we'll look at some items that we can use in our kitchen. All right, I'll see you downstairs. Hey guys, so here's the dungeon. LOL, ha ha ha. This is where we keep all our pantry items, our jarred stuff, things we processed, and excess baking goods. This is kind of our emergency kit in a way. So here's what we have down here at any rate. So over here we've got chicken broth, we've got chicken, chipotle chili, baked beans, 2 jars of tomato sauce. Those aren't the ones we just processed last week. These are from last season. We got 2 jars left. Some pickles, some mushrooms, some veggie broth, cinnamon sticks sitting on top of that. We got corn, all our spices are right here. We buy spices in large containers and then keep them in jars. That way they stay fresh. We got some more chicken. That down there is mixed chicken. It's white and dark meat. That is all white meat. That would be our hamburger. The jalapeno relish we made. Some more of the pickles that you guys watched us process. Those would be the dills. These dills down here were the ones from the last processing batch we did about a month ago. Up here on this shelf, this is all our baked goods. You know, our stuff we bake with. I mean, you've got your evaporated milk. We've got some cherries, some pineapples. This here is lactose-free evaporated milk. We've got some friends that are lactose intolerant, so when we bake some things, we like to bake for we know they're going to eat. We use that. And then our starches, puddings, vanillas, molasses, corn syrup back behind that, corn flour, cake flour. I have a few box mixes of cakes just for quick, easy cakes. Up there this is kind of like our leftover pile. Some of it at any rate. I've got quick oats and old oats. I've got jalapenos. We've got a big jar of cumin. That is pot roast. And somewhere down here, oh, I'm sorry, that's not chicken. That is pork roast. Looks like I'm running low on chicken. And then we've got hamburger. That is more jalapeno relish. And some apple butter. Yeah, and then if we turn around from here, we've got some coffee. That is some basil and dill we grew this year. And then over here, we've got just condiments. This is kind of like our boxed, grocery store surplus. It's all our noodles and rices, some soups, and then just some odds and ends, some graham crackers for Abby or whoever wants to eat them, and some chocolate and some oils and teas and stuff. And then over here is all the pickles and tomato sauce we just did. I haven't found a home for them yet, and I haven't done a whole lot down here because I think we're getting ready to move into a new house, and I don't want to go building some more shelves just to have to tear them down again. And then the last thing is right here, and you can't see it real well. I don't want to turn the lights on. The fish are sleeping. But up here, this is kind of where we keep our jams and jellies and odds and ends. But even though you can't see it, that's actually a nice bright yellow. Well, here, I'll tell you what. We'll turn on this light for just a second. This right here is pickled onions. And we've got some blackberry jam. I think that's blackberry. It might be raspberry. Nope, it's blueberry. Blueberry jam. We've got some jalapeno jelly. A little more apple butter and jalapeno jelly. This is pecan praline right here for pecan pies. Here's the pumpkin that I'm actually going to use to make our pumpkin roll. And then on the next shelf, we've got sweet pepper relish, some strawberry jam, pineapple jam, another thing of strawberry jam. And it looks like we're out of all our other jams. Well, I'll have to be making more jam. We've got the some bread and butter pickles down here, and then we have our last jar of aristocratic pickles right there. Those are amazing, but they're kind of they're an 8-day process. And then down there we've got concentrated strawberry lemonade, pineapple lemonade, and some more dill pickles. We are definitely a dill pickle family. All right, well, I'll meet you back upstairs, and we'll take a look at kitchen stuff. But I wanted to give you a quick look at what our pantry looks like, and then like I said, I'll meet you back upstairs and we'll do some pantry look at the kitchen and some different equipment. There is some of my fish. You've never seen my fish before. These are the convicts, the electric blue acara, and my favorite, Raphael. He's a Raphael catfish. Alright, so I'm heading back upstairs. I'll see you back up there. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the tour of the pantry. It's not big by any means, but it would hold us over. I guess I've been called a prepper, and in some ways I am, because I always want to be prepared. But here in Ohio at any rate, you know, winter can get kind of funky. There's been times that power's gone out, or we couldn't get out of the house, you know, plus, I mean, like we had lockdown, you know, during this pandemic, and, you know, and you need to make sure you have things. So it's always good to have a little extra. Now, that being said, if you start building, you know, a nice pantry, you know, with a surplus of things to eat, you want to rotate it out. I've done a video on this a few months back, but don't be that person that goes to the grocery store and buys every can of corn, you know. And by processing your own, you know what's in it. B, it's cheaper to make. Hands down. Once you get past the initial cost of purchasing jars, because you can reuse them over and over again, forever. I've got some jars, they're old Atlas jars that are probably close to 50 years old. They're still good jars. Use them all the time. It's very inexpensive to process your own food. And they last. I mean, as long as the seal's not broke, a lot of that stuff down there will last 2, 3, 4 years, sometimes longer. Chris is friends with some people on Old Timers Facebook group for canning that has stuff that they've had up to 10 years, you know, and it's still been okay. Now, I don't know if I personally would want that, but when you start stocking your pantry, make sure you rotate it. You know, if we look over here real quick, I'm going to turn you around. Get you all the way over here, and we'll take a look at our pantry. And then we're going to start talking about kitchen stuff. Yeah. I got an oscillating fan in the way. I'll have to excuse me. But I mean, like, if you look up here, I have some stuff in these cabinets here that I also have downstairs. Yeah, but and I have a lot of canned stuff. I mean, this is grocery store stuff. I mean, like, up there on the top shelf is tomatoes and cream soups, which I'm going to start making my own cream soups with powders. You know, we've got tomato sauce and some beans and, you know, some chipotle peppers and things like that. I mean, we keep a fair selection to house that. All right, so while we're here, let's start talking about things you may need in the beginning for to keep in your kitchen. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is just simply pots and pans. Now, we have a rather big collection of pots and pans, and well, I mean, it's not big. I've seen much bigger, and we choose to use all cast iron. Okay, so all these here are cast iron, and if we turn back around, going this way, turning. If you look right there is a Stockpot, you know, or Dutch oven, and more, another saucepan, a sauce pot, and a couple pans. Those are enameled. Okay, they're still cast iron, they're just enameled. That's what we use. Okay, so you can say to you buy what you can afford. You don't necessarily have to buy, you know, say cast iron. You can buy, non-stick. Here's the things I caution you about. Okay, I am a firm believer in buy it once. You know, if at all possible. I mean, sometimes, you know, financially you may not be able to afford to buy it once. But your pots and pans should be an investment for something you could use forever. Me and Chris, when we first started out, we couldn't always afford to buy cast iron. Cast iron can be very expensive. And if you don't know what you're looking for, so to speak, you can buy something that's going to be rough. You know, cast iron, as you use it, becomes more non-stick. You know, they all come with a coating, but when you're looking at pans, you rub your hand across it. You don't want a really rough, like Lodge, their pans, they're a little rough on the surface, but they still work very well. We have a Lodge pan that when we got it, it was rough. You know, it wasn't completely slick, smooth. But it still worked. It still was very non-stick, and it cost like $40. You know, but if you can't afford that, get a good Teflon, okay? You know, or non-stick coating pan. Just be careful you can't get those super hot, you know, or you change it chemically and it can make you sick. because that's a chemical coating that's on that. Cast iron is just carbon. It's basically carbon. It's a natural product that makes it non-stick. If you want to know more about cast iron, I have I guess you call him a friend. He's a fellow YouTuber named Mudbrucker. His channel is called The Mudbrucker, out of Wisconsin, and that's his thing. His thing is cast iron. I've been following him for quite some time now, and he does some of the coolest stuff ever, but he really can give you a good explanation and detail on cast iron. Now, the reason why those are enamel coated is because we cook a lot of sauces and we make things that involve high acid foods. Well, when making spaghetti sauce, you don't necessarily want to use it in something that's not coated. You'll take your coating off. We'll take all our seasoning off using cooking long term with heavy acid products like tomatoes or vinegars, things like that. And for that, we've got those coated ones, or we do have stock pots that are they're non-stick stock pots, but our stock pots are not cast iron. So I would recommend, if you're going to cook, you're starting out getting your kitchen together, you do one smaller pan, one good sized pan. So here I'll show you what I'm talking about real quick. You're gonna, start out with one smaller pan and one good sized pan. That way you can, fry eggs in your smaller pan in the morning when you're, getting up and you want breakfast. Or, if you're making a meal, you've got a larger pan. So those are the two things I would recommend getting. You want at least one pot, two different size pots. One to make sauces in, maybe a smaller one to just put a soup in, can of soup or whatever, and a couple of pans. Other things you may need, and these are things that whether you're going to try baking or cooking, you can run with. And we get you down here, so I don't have my back to you. Some other good starter things that you may want to have is an assortment of bowls. And like you can see here, my bowls don't match, but I've got a large bowl, a medium bowl, and a small bowl. And I use these for mixing. I use them to put salads in. You can serve plenty of stuff. Like when we make Nilla pudding, with the bananas, vanilla wafers, and vanilla pudding, I put it in that big bowl. But you use them for mixing and just all kinds of stuff. They're utility bowls. And a lot of times you can find those at the thrift store, and they're cheap. I got a set of mixing bowls. They're stainless steel mixing bowls that are awesome, and I think I paid $2 for the set of 3. So we've got pots and pans. Now you can buy high-end glass ones down the road, which leads me to my next thing. So forever, me and Chris started out using to store stuff. When we were storing things, starting out, we would use just the sour cream container in this case, but the yogurt containers, the Cool Whip containers, that's kind of what we grew up, our parents used was just standard containers. We just kept them. When it was empty, we rinsed it out, we kept it. Now, as we've gotten older and I've gotten a little more, I want to store things in different things. We went from sour cream containers to Rubbermaid storage containers. Here's the problem with Rubbermaid plastic storage containers, and even these in general. And this will only apply if you have kids. They seem to disappear. And I don't know why that is, but they disappear. Plus, you'll want to probably stick this in the microwave to heat it back up, and eventually they go bad, and you gotta. So I'm gonna get something to drink. They go bad on you. They develop holes. If you microwave them a bunch, they get this funky radiation thing going on around the edges. So they're good, but they don't last very long. And this goes to the buy it once, buy it right. So we started switching. We haven't done it yet because it's pricey. You know, we started going with glass bowls with lids. I can microwave these glass bowls, you know, and they store forever, and they have lids. And I don't have to worry about them being discolored or anything like that. Now, like I said, I mean, we try to find these at thrift stores. We wait till they have sales on them, things like that. So that way, you know, we have storage containers. Plus, here's the cool thing about it. Not this bowl in particular. I mean, I suppose you could. But, you know, we have our bakeware. We have Pyrex bakeware. This is all Pyrex. That I can bake things in. You know, that's a good way to, especially if you're just starting into baking. So not only do you have a storage unit or storage vessel, but you can also do your cooking and baking in them. Now, as far as baking goes, glass is a good place to start. You know, that way you can kind of see what's going on inside the pan. And you'll learn, you know, wow, look, this is doing this or that's doing that. You can see if your casserole is done or your cake is baked. But then as you progress, you want to get into good metal pans. You know, as far as baking goes, you know, glass is not frowned upon, and you know, but get what you can afford, obviously. But a good metal baking pan is probably best as far as baking goes. Some utensils you may need. You know, to start out with, you've got just your basic stuff. You know, other than forks, knives, and spoons, this collection here kind of says it all. You know, you have a whisk, you have a spatula, you can stir sauces with either of these, you can bake cakes with either of these. Tongs are a must. You know, if you have to flip your chicken over in the pan or whatever, you can also stir with them. And get you a good set of tongs. You know, they make some interesting tongs out there. This particular set here, I want to say they're made by OXO, maybe. Yeah, it's got this right here, and it keeps it, you know, closed. But all I have to do is just push that in, you know, and if I've got something in my hand, I can just hit it on my chest. It slides real easy, and then it's got a nice wide spread. You know, spoons. You know, I personally, we have a metal spoon, but I prefer plastic or wooden spoons and spatulas. Mostly because even though I know I can use metal on my cast iron, I try not to. I'm kind of heavy-handed, and I don't want to personally tear up my seasoning on there. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use them. If you have a good, older seasoned pan, absolutely metal. But I prefer wood, you know, and then I have my plastic spatula that I use for almost everything, and this thing's probably 30 years old, you know, and it's served me well and continues to serve me well. Yeah, but those are some of the essential, you know, small wares that you'd want. Now, you know, one other thing, there's a couple other things I think you should have. A can opener, whether it's a hand twist can opener, which are great unless your hands aren't real strong. I personally just have gotten to that age where I don't want a hand twist can opener, but they're like $4 for, you know, maybe $8 for a good one. And that's a good starter one. You know, then we've moved up to, if you can see that black and silver thing right there, that is a safety can opener. It's electric. It doesn't leave sharp edges on the can. That is kind of what you want to build up to, but that's like a $40 can opener compared to an $8 can opener. But that's something that you could build onto. Another thing that I think is very essential, whether you cook or bake, and it's a good starter one, and I preach this all the time in my baking videos, is a scale. This is not an expensive scale. The scale was like $13, you know, and you can probably even get one cheaper than that. I caution you with the cheap scales, though. They don't always measure accurately, and when you're doing small amounts, sometimes it doesn't actually want to read it. So, you know, but for about $13, you've got a really good scale. I mean, so far, just to a basic, I'm getting started, we may have spent $70, $75. You know, that's not bad in the kitchen. All right. And we've got stuff to store in, we've got stuff to cook in, and we've got utensils to be able to cook with. And we got a scale so we can measure it accurately. Probably the most, and we can open our cans. Can't forget that. Probably the most expensive starter thing that you may start out with is a mixer. You know, this is a hand mixer. Just, you know, this is good for cakes. It's good for soups. It's good, you know, whatever you need to mix. This is ideal, and it's not heavy. It's not bulky. It stores real easy. You know, with a pull of a button, I can release that, and that's all you got to store right there. You know, it makes it simple. So that's what I feel are some of the basic tools that you will need. You know, that you could use to make your kitchen a good starter kitchen to cook with. I'm gonna turn this light on real quick and probably blind you, and I apologize for that. But now I want to talk about a few like don't necessarily have to have, but they're nice to have tools or pieces of equipment. One of them, I think you should have one of these. Hey, whether it doesn't matter which one it is, but let's turn over this way, and I'll bring you down a little bit. Yeah, so that way you can see them. This is kind of the want to have, but don't necessarily need tools. Okay, so first thing we have is a food processor. Yeah, food processors are awesome. So especially if you start baking or cooking, they can chop things up, they can slice things up depending on the attachment you use. Now, this one here was rather expensive, but it's also a bigger one. It's not the biggest one, but it's a bigger one. You can buy small ones. They're like, you know, maybe $50. They're nice to have. Are they necessary? Maybe not. I mean, there's always a way around, especially if you've got a knife, which we'll talk about here in a second, you know, or any of the equipment we just looked at. But food processors are handy. Like I said, they can be very expensive. This is one of the, hey, this is a fairly pricey one. It's like $100, $110. But we use it a lot, and we cook for a family of 4 to 6. So it was kind of necessary for us. The next thing, you know, you might want to consider someday, just because they last forever, and like I said, we use ours constantly because we constantly bake and cook, is a stand mixer. You know, now this isn't even the most high-end one. They make a professional series. These run, at least at the moment, right around $300. You know, $350, right around there. And this is just your basic Kickstand Mixer. They have one that's, I think, $150 more. That's taller and has a thing that will lift this up into it, and you know, it does a lot of extras, and it comes with all the hooks. You know, this one's got, you know, I can pour things through the spout, keep it covered. That way, I don't get stuff everywhere. You know, and then this one in particular, I wish it had a glass bowl, and I'll get one eventually. But it comes with, you know, a wire whisk, so I can make different batters with, you know, or toppings with, like a meringue, or you know, I can whip eggs. And it comes with the paddle attachment, which you guys, if you watched any of my videos, have seen a million times. But like I said, these are pricey and not necessary. I mean, you can have a hand mixer and do the same thing, but that would be a good down-the-road investment, especially if you find you enjoy cooking. A lot of these are just, I enjoy cooking, and I'm going to invest in a little better piece of equipment. The next thing, and once again, this is a higher-end, high-speed blender. You know, it's one of my favorite toys. It's the Ninja 1000. And it's awesome. We use it to, like the strawberry concentrate and the pineapple. Well, I don't think there was any pineapple left, but we also make a strawberry lemonade and a pineapple lemonade. This is what I use for it. And you kind of need a high-speed blender if you're on the move. You know, regular blenders, you can pick a blender up for $40-50 at the moment. You know, but they may not go as fast. This is called the Ninja 1000 because the blades inside there turn at 1,000 rotations a minute. And that means you can process quicker without heating stuff up. As you mix food of any kind in any of these three pieces, um, the food warms up because you're creating inertia, energy, and things like that. The last thing I have over here that I personally feel is, it's not necessarily a must-have, but if I had to pick, as a starter piece of kind of like luxury equipment, I guess, and not necessarily a must-have, instead of the blender, this is a blender also, but it's an immersion blender. Okay, so an immersion blender, not only does it have a processor attachment, but if I can get this apart, and if I can't, we'll just talk about it. Yep, right there. So see, that comes off, the motor comes off, and I've got the immersion blender. I've also got a nut processor over there. But this right here is, all it is, after I put it on there, it's just a blender. So instead of using this blender, I could use this blender. If I'm making a soup, on the stove, and it's time to cream that soup, boom, right there. I can just stick this right in the pot. It doesn't actually hit the bottom. It won't scrape things and tear your pot up. And I suppose it could if you're not, if you're slamming it down into the bottom of the pot. But this would be a good alternative as a blender, or maybe even a processor, depending on what you're trying to do. And it can get you where you need to go. And this whole setup wasn't $30. And this has been a good immersion blender for me. It's made by Civic, and it's worked well for me. Now, I don't cook professionally in my kitchen, but as, a guy who cooks 3 to 4 days a week, this works very well. And just in case because I can see your wheels are turning in your head. You're thinking, well, does Chris ever cook? Yes, she actually cooks quite a bit. I cook more, but it's not because, she's just like some horrible person. I like to cook. I like to cook. I like to bake. So in my spare time, which I don't have a lot of, but enough, I cook and bake, and we'll never go hungry. But a lot of times, as you see in videos, we cook together. That's a big thing, okay? If you're by yourself, you're obviously just going to cook for yourself, maybe one other, or friends that you invite over. But cooking provides so much, okay? By cooking, me and Chris cook together, it's time together. We can talk about our day. We can talk about future plans. We can talk about the kids and what they're doing and getting into, and what we've heard, what's new and what's social. We spend time together that way. Occasionally I'll cook with Abby or Sarah, and even if it's Sarah cooking a meal, and I'm just sitting out here in the kitchen hanging out in case she needs something, because she's still learning, she's not been cooking for decades. She's still learning new things, and she likes to try new recipes just like I do and Chris does. So, she may have questions, comments, concerns. So I hang out here with her, or Chris will hang out here with her if I'm not home, to kind of help her in case she needs it. But for the most part, she's pretty much hands off. Cooking and baking do so much for your family, or say you just started dating somebody. That's a good way to spend an evening, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. Or you're having friends over. Hang out and cook. You get to eat afterwards, get your bottle of wine and eat what you made. There are so many ways to bring people together through food. It's unreal. A lot of times, some of the stuff we make, that's like a lot of the dill pickles we made, the tomato sauces we made, and we're going to make more tomato sauces. I don't know if you saw it on the earlier, but I have got all those tomatoes right there. The jars I'm actually getting ready to make rotel here shortly. But I still have easy that amount outside on the vine. And that's our second batch of tomatoes. And with the third batch of tomatoes, we're probably either going to make salsa or tomato sauce in quart jars, in the big jars, or we may do both, depending on how many more we got. Because our good friend Donnie across the street, who took the other half of my tomato plants. He has still tomatoes on those vines also. But my point being with this is we'll take some of those and we'll share them. You know, we'll give them to people, whether it be jams and jellies for Christmas, or here, have some pickles. Here, have some tomato sauce. You know, and then that gives them nutrition, and I get to share the love that we put into these a little bit with people. You know, that makes it important. That's like the carrot cake we made last week. You know, we had a few pieces of it here, but then I took it to work to share with everybody. You know, that's part of being community. You know, and part of being a good neighbor is looking out for your neighbors and making sure they're taken care of. You know, I know our neighbors come over here and hang out with us, and sometimes it's just to hang out and talk, gossip a little, check up on, you know, talk about latest events. But sometimes it's just to check on us, make sure we're doing okay. You know, just like we do them. That's, like I said, part of being a good neighbor, part of being a community. So anyhow, we know that in the beginning, you know, you want to at least have a couple pans, couple different size pans, couple different size pots. Yeah, you want a handful of the kitchen utensils and something to store things in. You know, those are the basics. That's a good place to start. You know, you could also do, you know, if you want to dabble into baking, all of that will apply. You know, because you'll need bowls to mix things in. You'll need a mixer to mix things in. The only thing we didn't touch on, and we can real quick, is, and it has to do with baking, and that's some different types of baking things, okay? Tools you'll need. If you want to try cakes, if you want to try making cakes, you got a couple different options. You can use cake pans, round cake pans. If you're doing a single layer cake, multi-layer cake, and like I said, these are good metal ones. You know, so you may want something like that, and or another good one to have on hand. And those aren't expensive; they're like maybe $10 a piece, and those are good pans. Another thing you might want to consider, and I'll just pull out, because I personally, I don't have a lot of baking pans, you know, but I've got a 9x13 pan here. I've got quick release pans. I've got an 8-inch and a 9-inch springform pan. I use those for cheesecakes. And then I've got a bread pan, which I, you know, could probably use a couple, 2, 3 more of these. Now, I want to tell you something about metal pans, real quick. So, see that right there? How it's discolored? That's not a bad thing. You don't want to scrape that. You know, you may not want to scrape that off. What happens is it's much like stainless steel. Yeah, or stainless steel. Like cast iron. That helps with evenness in baking. I watched a snippet on America's Test Kitchen, and they were talking about that. And he had a dirty old beat up cookie sheet and a brand new one, and they heated them both up to 450 degrees and put a infrared on it, and the one that looked like this actually held heat more evenly and better. So that's not altogether bad. Keep that in mind. The only other thing I would probably recommend as a good starter is, and I'll bring you down here to show you so that way you don't have to I don't have to take it all out of the oven, I know it's me being lazy, is a cookie sheet. Now I've got full-size cookie sheets here, at least a half a sheet, you know, but I can fit up to 18 cookies on those, and a muffin pan. All right, that's it. If you have just those, as far as baking goes, and it doesn't have to be a bunch of them, just, you know, one of each. Well, the cake pans, the 9-inch cake rounds, I would recommend getting 2 of those, just because that way you can make a 2-layer cake. But other than that, you need like one of each for everything else. So altogether, just the starter, you know, to start out cooking in your kitchen and baking, it may cost you $200, $250, and that'll get you every piece of equipment you need to cook or bake with, you know, at least to start out. And then as you grow, you know, and you enjoy more and you want to experiment more and make different things, you can look at blenders, mixers, stand mixers, bigger food processors. You know, but like I said, I know you can get a smaller food processor. Like I said, we cook for 4 to 6 people, pretty regular. But you can get a smaller one that is, you know, next to nothing. Even like if you're, because like I'll chop things in that. But I've got like this little chopper here just for quick stuff. Yeah, this happens to be a Pampered Chef model, and you just simply slap the top, and the blades come down, and it chops. You know, boom. Food processor on a manual scale, and it's small, and these aren't expensive. You can buy these at a store, like at Walmart or something, and they're like $10, $15. You know, that's much cheaper than, say, $100 for a food processor or a chopper. There's all types of alternatives. You know, plastic spoons, slotted spoons. You can pick a set of these up for like $10. Yeah. So for maybe $250, $300, you will have a great beginner's kitchen that you can cook almost anything in. One thing I did not touch on is measuring utensils, but we can talk about this really quick, just really quick. Measuring utensils. You know, I'm still keeping you under $300 either way it goes. As starter kits, measuring cups, those are always good. I've got everything from 1 cup down to a 1/4 teaspoon. I even have an 1/8 of a teaspoon running around here. They're very hard to find, and it doesn't match this set, so it doesn't get out, and I don't want to lose it because they're very hard to find. So that 1/8 of a teaspoon one sets up, but you've got those measuring cups, and those are for dry. You know, so like if you're measuring herbs or something like that, or flour, sugar, you know, dry goods, and then you want just a set of measuring cups for wet stuff, water, milk, things like that. You know, something like this. Might I recommend the 1 cup one is nice and it's expensive. This is a 2 cup and it's not that much more expensive. I would almost recommend getting a 2 cup. I very rarely do in liquids. You know, I mean, well, it does. You use a 1/2 cup, whatever, but I just think the 2 cup makes more sense. And then I have something like this. This happens to be a Pampered Chef measurer for tablespoons and teaspoons. I also have one that's glass, that's Anchor Hocking. I just grabbed this one to show you. But they're not expensive, and a lot of this stuff you can find gently used at a thrift store for like 1/3 the cost. You know, and I know at least a lot of my friends, and even me and Chris, we love the thrift store. We're all the time finding stuff there. Most of my flannels come from the thrift store. I bought what was brand new, a $40 flannel shirt for like $1.50, not but a week ago. Awesome stuff. All right, so that's pretty much my spiel on dishes. Yeah, if possible, glass storage devices or glass storage. That way, not only can you use it for storage, but some of the stuff you can bake in. You know, by bake in, I mean this 8x8 square. I can bake a cake in it, do brownies in it, or I can store leftovers. So it's a multi-use tool. Those are like $7, $8 a piece on up, but I can use it for many things. Doesn't take up a lot of space in the grand scheme of things. Then I don't need to hang out with a bunch of these and baking pans, whatever. All right, but storage containers, must have them some sort. If this is all you can afford because you're just starting out, sweet, but shoot for something like that. Utensils, cooking utensils. This is a great place to start. It'll get you everywhere you need to go, and then some, and you can always work up and add to from there. I mean, hell, I've probably got 9 wooden spatulas. I'll pick one up and go, oh, I like that, and just get it. But, you know, it's a good place to start, and it's economical. You know, other things to look at, a mixer, a scale, a decent set of baking pans, you know, is always a must because they don't make a glass 9-inch cake pan, you know, or a glass springform pan with moving parts. if you have those few items, you know, and a stock pot, which I'm just not going to go downstairs and get one because I'm being lazy, you know, but a stock pot, in case you don't know, is just like that red Dutch oven right there, only yay tall, and it holds anywhere from 6 quarts to 23 quarts. Like my pressure canner, it's technically could be a stock pot, you know. I mean, I wouldn't use it as a stock pot, but that's what a stock pot looks like. But as long as you have those few basic things, you can start preparing meals and have a functional kitchen, you know, and that's important. Eating out's nice every once in a while, but which is why I'm doing this video, but knowing how to cook is important, you know. I have met so many people, especially since the pandemic, who come to my restaurant to eat because they don't know how to cook. And that concerned me. You know, that actually is the reason. Not only is this my channel ultimately a social experiment, as I've talked about in several videos, but I want to teach people how to cook. Most of my recipes aren't complex. Most of my baking ideas aren't complex. And in some ways that's by design. My videos are not fast. They're not quick paced. That's by design. I want you to, be successful on both counts. So, you know, although there are some rather fancy recipes, or more complex recipes, not fancy. I don't ever cook anything fancy. My friend Kent Rowland says you can't get full on fancy. And that's true. But I provide you the ability to make a simple, healthy, filling meal that if you're not an experienced cook or you're just starting out, I believe you will be very successful at. That's important to me, you know. And that way it helps you to build confidence in yourself. I personally believe you can do anything you set your mind to, but I know sometimes there's moments of self-doubt. You know, even I get moments of self-doubt, but I think you can do it, you know, on all of this. And if you have all these tools, if you have all the basic tools we've just talked about, you will be able to make any of the 26 recipes for dinner that I have so far, and almost any of the baking things the cakes and pies and cookies that, oh no, you could probably make any of them with these tools. All right, I'm gonna get my kitchen back together and start roasting some tomatoes and peppers for rotel, and which you'll get to see this Thursday. Tomorrow we are going to cook dinner because it's Wednesday, but we're going to make a Philly cheesesteak sloppy joe that I think is going to knock your socks off. Matter of fact, I know it's going to knock your socks off because I already made the video. I'm just waiting until tomorrow to put it out, and it's off the hook. And then Thursday you will get to see. We're going to make a friend of mine, Miss Kaylee, who's a subscriber. She tried the carrot cake and she told me she thought it was great. Although sometimes I think people tell me that just because they want to make me feel good. No, it really is. It's a great cake. That was no lie on that video when I made it. That is a great cake. But she had mentioned a pumpkin roll at any rate. And I thought, ooh, pumpkin roll. I haven't made one of those in forever. Well, I haven't done anything pumpkin in forever. I have some jarred pumpkin that we did up, and we're going into fall and we're at the beginning of pumpkin everything season. So why not? You know, let's do this. We're gonna make a pumpkin roll. It's a really nice. If you don't know what a pumpkin roll is, it's kind of like a Swiss roll that you would only on steroids, like you'd buy from the little corner store. You know, it's a nice cake layer that's swirled around, and in that is a lovely cream cheese filling. But that's what we're going to do Thursday. And then sometime this week, maybe Saturday, Sunday, you'll get to, hopefully, if not next week, you'll get to see the video on how I make this rotel. I'm not making a lot of it because it's our first time making it. We want to make sure we like it. If we like it, we can always make more. But I'm going to make 8 jelly jars full of this version of a rotel with tomatoes and chili peppers. So, that being said, I love you. I love you very much. I don't say it to be facetious. I truly mean it. Tell somebody else you love them and love them very much. It's going to make their day just so much better. And it'll make your day better and make you feel good to let somebody know that. All right. I will see you tomorrow for some Philly cheesesteak sloppy joes. And until then, stay safe, wear your mask, and get vaccinated if you hadn't. It's just a crazy, dangerous world out there at the moment. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.